Sonnen in the studio, current light heavyweight now, right?
Light heavyweight.
In the UFC, the big one coming up here with John Jones. But let's talk about Rumble at the Roseland now. What's your connection to the Rumble, to the FCF?
Well, you know, my partner and former teammate, Kevin Keeney, and I started this event in 2001. In fact, we're the world's oldest, next to the UFC. There's only one organization that can go back that far, and that's us, for mixed martial arts. And
how did you guys not end up getting swallowed up by the UFC? Because Dana, he kind of likes to acquire those things.
Well, he does. Yeah, and, you know, we work with the UFC. We've started the careers of 13 fighters that have gone into the UFC, wow. 2 referees, a judge, and even a timekeeper. So, you know, we're a big feeder program, but the big difference with us is we are purely amateur. And so Dana's in full support of what we do.
Beautiful. So what's one of the fights we're going to be looking forward to most this Saturday night?
You know, they're all going to be great, but the women's title bout at 135 pounds has everybody's interest. But, you know, there's a lot of great matches. We got some big heavyweights on the card. This is truly the premier mixed martial arts league anywhere. It's the premier fight league. And we always say mixed martial arts, but the reality is these guys are going to fight in an 8-sided octagon-shaped steel cage. It's going to be sanctioned by the Oregon Boxing and Wrestling Commission, and it's as real as it gets.
So I haven't been to one of the Rumble at the Roseland shows. How do those compare? I mean, other than size, because obviously you can fit a lot more people into the Rose Garden, but how does it feel to be in this room, especially if you're about to step in the ring?
Well, the Rose Garden is usually empty.
Yeah,
you know,
true,
it's really big, and unless the UFC comes to town, it's empty. The Roseland sells out. Sells out every time. It's sold out for 11 straight years. It's the #1 show that takes place in Portland, and that's according to the owner of the Roseland Theater. So we're very proud of it. But then again, it is, like you said, it is a lot smaller. So to sell out a smaller venue is easier, but it's the atmosphere. It's awesome. There's a lot of tradition in that building.
Yeah, no kidding. So back to the UFC. Now, well, actually, let's talk about the women fighting. How do you feel about women entering the MMA? How do you feel about Ronda Rousey getting her UFC deal and they're starting to be a bigger part of the sport?
Well, I like opportunity for anybody. Now, what they do with it is up to them. This is completely on the women, but here's their chance. And, you know, it was never a matter of keeping the women out. It was the women just never really wanted in.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of bodies. And Dana White said that. He goes, I'll do a women's division, but I need a division. I can't just have 1 or 2 competitors. I need a whole field. Form a bracket, if you will. I need a bracket. And finally the bodies have come, and they're going to get their chance.
Nice. So you're one of the coaches of this season of Tough. This is going to be, I'm really looking forward to this. It looks like there's a bunch of good fighters, and we've only seen just kind of the preview, what's on the Tough on Fox or on FX website. How excited are you to be a part of that show finally?
Well, it's incredible. This is the hardest tournament I've ever witnessed. I grew up as a wrestler. So tournaments is all we did. I've been to the World Championships, the Olympic trials, NCAA, you name it, I've been there for wrestling.
Right.
And it was always a tournament structure. It was always in a bracket, and that's how we broke it down. Well, this is the toughest tournament I've ever seen. My uncle is an Olympic champion, Olympic gold medalist in basketball. He told me the same thing. He said, I've never heard of a tournament this difficult. You know, you got to fight 5 men in 5 weeks.
So it's just the tournament itself, above and beyond, or not even including the pressure that you feel from being on camera the whole time. I mean, this just sounds like this has been a really fun season. Now, it's done shooting, right?
It's all done, yeah.
Okay. And you can give us some impression of the season without revealing anything, without any spoilers?
Yeah, I can tell you anything you want to know. Look, it's extremely tough. I mean, there were some absolute excellent fighters that didn't even qualify to make it into what they call the house, which means the final cut. You know, the guys that come out of this, you know, I'll quote Dana White. He said, what am I going to do with this guy? Am I going to put him against Anderson Silva for the title? Meaning the guys that come through, because it's so truly stacked this year.
Yeah. I hear there's one guy that was just scaring the bejesus out of everybody else in the house. I think that was something Dana was mentioning about this season. There's one guy in particular that's kind of a loose cannon.
Yeah, he's not a loose cannon.
Okay.
He's a solid individual, but Dana was very impressed with his fighting skills.
Yeah.
Now, I believe I know who he's talking about, but there was about 4 guys that really stood out. So I'm not positive which one impressed Dana the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, this is truly going to be a special tournament.
So this all leads up to which UFC is it? UFC 159? Which is the one where you're faced up against
UFC 159, April 27th.
You and John Bones Jones. And this is not a title fight, is it?
This for the world title.
This is for the world title. Now, you heard about what Wanderlei Silva said about you yesterday, right?
Yeah, but, Wanderlei, and for your viewers that don't, Wanderlei thought that I would lose the fight.
Right.
And that's fine, but I don't know. They should ask a fighter what he thinks.
Yeah.
They should get the opinion of a fighter.
Right. Do you have... Like, is the hatchet buried between you and Anderson or no? Would you like to see a third Silva, Chael Sonnen or not?
Well, listen, I got John Jones on April 27th, and that's where my focus is at right now.
Yeah. What do you think about him as a fighter? What are his strengths, and what are you going to try to take advantage of when you're in the ring there?
Oh, he's excellent. He's excellent. I trained with Randy Couture, the best fighter ever, for a number of years. So. Jones is a very special talent, and he's very unique talent too. But it's not something that I haven't seen a number of times. Mm-hmm. And man, he's a tough guy, but they all are. I've never had an easy fight in there.
And this is your first chance to hold a title belt in the UFC, or not? Sorry, this will be the first time that you hold a belt in the UFC once you win this fight.
In the UFC, yeah, that's correct.
So how does that, I mean, you've stepped up from middleweight, this is your first light heavyweight title match. You feeling pretty strong about that? Is this a division you feel you belong in?
I don't care about any of that stuff. When I started in this, there were no weight classes. Everybody just fought everybody. There was no round system, and I never really bought into that mentality of, what a guy weighs or anything. I think that's probably a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make any difference to me. You're only talking about 20 pounds. 185 versus 205, that's a couple of pounds. So, what's the difference? Let's just fight.
Chael Sonnen, light heavyweight in the UFC, in the studio with me. Rumble at the Roseland this Saturday night. Still tickets available. It's not sold out yet, is it?
It is not sold out.
Okay, so we still got tickets
Safeway, Fast Tix locations.
And the new season of The Ultimate Fighter starts on Tuesday night.
Tuesday night, FX, right after Justified.
Excellent. Thank you so much for stopping in. I
appreciate
it, brother.